So, welcome back to the Prescription of Travel MD podcast, where I've made it my goal to help get you to your next destination. Part of getting there is really just trying to figure out where to go, and I love that there are a whole host of opportunities for CME-related travel. And if you've listened to any of my previous episodes, you know that I'm a huge proponent of using CME time and the funds to really just invest in yourself, your education, for your wellness, for the chance to surround yourself by communities of growth-minded people. And of course, for the opportunity to travel to some just really cool places. And I think it can be challenging to track down where to go or what to do, especially if it's not something that's showing up on your Google search. And I'm trying to determine if it's legit and, if it might be a good fit for you. And then you're worried about all your responsibilities at home while you're gone. And I think once you find these great opportunities, you just figure all those things out, right? But you have to know that they exist, which is partly why I started this podcast and why I'm really excited for you guys to hear from our next guest, Dr. Erica Howe. She's all about education. She plans conferences for women in fabulous destinations. I've been wanting to have her on the show ever since I saw her post about her conference that she was holding in Grand Cayman, which I was hoping to attend recently. So just really glad to welcome you to the show, Erica.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I'm so excited to be here.
So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am a retired hospitalist. I ended up actually retiring in order to run the Women Physicians Wellness Conference and Women Professionals Wellness Conference full time. I have 3 crazy kids, 15, 13, and 10. So life is pretty hectic right now. And I live in Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, very cool. We've got a lot in common then. My husband's a hospitalist as well. And I trained in Kansas City at KU for a residency. And so you do all of these things. And so you were able to create these conferences and then leave medicine. How cool is that?
It's funny. It was something that I had never actually planned on doing. When I started WPW, I did do it from a place of burnout and really creating something that I personally needed. But the act of creating the conference that started with just a once-a-year conference in Grand Cayman was really transformative for me in getting out of burnout. It was kind of this creative outlet for me. And I wasn't the little girl who had a lemonade stand or was entrepreneurial at any point in my life until I kind of had the idea for WPW. But in doing that, it really kind of gave me this creative outlet to do something I had never done before and to learn new skills around business that I had never heard of before. And it really became fun for me. So by the time I had kind of put it into play and the conference was running, I was out of burnout and I was really happy in my full-time hospitalist position. I was an academic hospitalist for my entire career. And I didn't want to leave, but I knew that I needed more time. I had these wonderful women who were attending the conference and saying, I love this, but can you do another one in a different location? Can you do one stateside? Because I can't leave the continental US in order to get my CME, and all of these things. And I thought, I can really only be a full-time academic hospitalist with 3 kids and, a husband who's also a physician and do one of these a year. Like, it's a lot of fun and also a lot of work. And so I went to my program and I asked to go part-time. And they just could not handle the FTE deficit. There were many of us asking for the same thing. And so I decided to kind of take the leap and try something totally new and totally different and see where it went. I'm figuring that I could go back to medicine if I needed to, but I really wanted to see how this could grow.
That's a leap I think a lot of us actually think about taking. I started out listening to podcasts about people who were doing all these amazing things outside of medicine. So I think it's also inspiring to hear your story from a hey, maybe I want to try something new perspective, in addition to, hey, maybe I just want to go on a retreat. So very cool.
Absolutely. Many times kind of the talks that I give focus around that and just do the thing that you never thought you would do, or even if it seems like a wild idea or something that's, doesn't really fit into the box of your life at this point, you just never know what it can lead to. I remember when I started the conference, I remember thinking, am I crazy for this? This seems insane. Like, I'm happy. I have a wonderful home life, wonderful work life. I'm fulfilled. Why am I doing this extra thing that's adding extra stress onto my life? I needed to see where it went. And I am so glad that I did not say no to that little voice that was inside my head that just kept saying, do this. So I now encourage women to go and do the same thing, even if it feels like something that's completely outside the box for you. Try it anyway. You never know.
And you have a platform as well, the Medical Educator Platform.
Yes, that's the parent company for all of the conferences. Since we now have the Women Physicians Wellness Conferences, we have 3 of those. And we have now introduced the first women professionals wellness conference that welcomes non-physicians into the community. Yeah, we have a parent company called the Medical Educator.
So you're hosting 3 conferences in a year now?
4, actually. With the Women Professionals Wellness, we have a 4th one. Yeah, lots of Caribbean destinations.
Awesome. And how do you choose your destinations?
I do often ask the other women that attend the conferences, where should our next location be? When we started with Grand Cayman, I had actually just gone there for my 10th wedding anniversary at the time, and I just absolutely fell in love with the place. It was just so serene and beautiful. The people were so friendly. It's rated one of the safest Caribbean islands. So there were just so many incredible attributes that it had that I thought, I've got to bring these women here. And then Aruba is a little bit more kind of nightlife and kind of a fun party vibe. And so I wanted to do something a little different with Aruba. And then Amelia Island, I was really looking for a stateside opportunity to do a Women Physicians Wellness Conference for those women who had to stay stateside, or because they had just had children, they had a new job, they couldn't leave for very long. So that one, I was really looking for a place that gave you that same getaway feel, where you were really kind of escaping your daily life. And at the same time, you were still in the continental US. Now, I will tell you, that was probably one of the hardest locations for us to find, just because so much of the United States is so jam-packed in these popular tourist destinations with hotels and restaurants and everything. And I really wanted it to feel like a getaway. So Amelia Island does a really great job of that. And I think there's a fair amount of the island that is, the land is protected. So it really does feel like you're kind of escaping just the hustle and bustle that we often will kind of relate to going on vacation. You're staying at one of those huge high-rise hotels, and they do a really good job on Amelia Island of making you feel like kind of a very tropical, serene location.
Had you been to Amelia Island before, or how'd you find it?
I had, actually, yeah. Our family had vacationed there, and I had been to a conference for my husband many years before, and I had remembered kind of it feeling definitely like it was much more of a getaway than some of the other locations that I was looking into. And so that one actually worked out really well.
I agree with that. A lot of the island destinations here in the US don't give you like the feel of like, oh, I'm jetting off to Mexico and I'm isolated on this resort. So that's very cool. I've never been to Amelia Island. I'll have to check that one out.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, it's coming up in October, We got to get you there.
Gotcha. And you just came back from Grand Cayman.
Grand Cayman, yep. We had Bahamas in January and then Grand Cayman in February. And I will tell you, for the first time ever, I did a 5-day vacation with my family before the conference and then did the conference for the next 5 days. And highly recommend. I felt like I was living on the island by the time I left. I was like, what? I'm going home. There's snow there. That doesn't sound fun.
I think you picked like the right months too, because everyone's trying to get away when it's like January, February.
Yeah, that like kind of Arctic blast that hit us all in the United States. It was nice to watch that from a beach.
Must be nice.
Now, one of our main goals in WPW is really focusing on women physicians getting away and really separating themselves from their clinical lives and their home lives. I know I was guilty of the same thing when I was a hospitalist, of taking my work with me wherever I went, even if I was on vacation. It's like I really want these women secretly to have a getaway and a vacation and some rest that is built into this conference. This is not a 14-hour-a-day conference. We end at noon or 1 o'clock every day so that you have afternoons free to rest and relax. And most of the time, we are going out of the country because I want you to have an out-of-the-country, out-of-office reply. There is nothing like an out-of-the-country office reply that tells people to stop emailing you. Not to say which country you're in, but you're not in the United States or Canada or wherever you're from anymore. So you really do get taken off of those group emails.
Right? You're like, I'm unreachable right now.
I am unreachable. Exactly. And that's the goal. I really want these hardworking women who I want taking care of me for the rest of my life to have moments in their lives to learn, to come together as a community, and then to rest and reflect and recharge so that they are in medicine for the long haul and they are providing not just quality care to others, but they're getting that self-care that they need. So I tell the women that attend, you work so hard for everyone else every day, every other day of your life. When you come to WPW, let me take care of you. Let me pamper you. Let me look after you and take care of all of the details so you don't have to worry about any of that. And you can feel kind of some of that restoration at the end of it.
So you plan these conferences and people come out for like, is it like 3 days or they're there for like a whole week, or how much time do they actually have to take off?
So it is up to you. We have about a third, a third, a third. A third come alone, a third come with girlfriends, and then a third come with families. So it looks like different things to different people based on where they are in their lives, for sure. I will say that I negotiate really hard with each of the hotels that we host at. So we get shoulder dates at a discounted room block. So when you book your hotel stay, you can actually book a couple days before and a couple days after to make it a vacation in addition to the conference itself, so that you are getting a discounted hotel room rate when you do that. And I do that very purposefully and very strategically because I want you to actually come and rest and have a vacation. I was guilty for 7 years of not taking a vacation.
7 years?
That's horrible. It's awful. I don't want anyone else to ever have to say that. And I'm embarrassed to say it, let me tell you.
I hear it so often. I think I don't hear it as much because I've surrounded myself with people who are also like me, like, "Yeah, let's go." But at some point, yeah, people were like saying, I've gone years and I haven't taken a vacation. So if you've gone 7 years or 2 years and you haven't taken a vacation, this episode is for you. Take your vacation.
Absolutely. And the studies have shown there is data around it that you come back more productive, more efficient as an employee. You're more likely to be retained as faculty, to be satisfied in your job, to have less burnout. You're less likely to have a fatal heart attack afterwards. There's a ton of data that supports why we need regular rest in order to perform at our best in our jobs and beyond.
And your program offers CME?
Oh, yes. So we do 18 units of CME. And then for our women professionals wellness, we give continuing education for dentists, lawyers, veterinarians, psychologists, social workers, all sorts. So we try to get as much continuing education for people as we can. We do typically 18 credits per conference. We even provide CME for the workout that we have in the morning. So one of our speakers runs the workout and actually speaks on growth and mindset and different topics based on our themes for each of the conferences. And we give CME for that as well. We try to make sure that it's a lot of CME in a short amount of time. So you're getting the education, you're getting the community, you're learning from other women at your table, you're learning from the speakers, and then you're actually having time to reflect on that new knowledge when the morning ends and you have the afternoon to yourself. And my hope is actually that you can go to that beach chair, talk with some of the other women that are there, and then apply, even in the moment, some of those new skills and strategies that you learned. We've had women send emails back home during their trip and during their conference time with us, just saying, I finally had the time to really write that diplomatic email that I needed to send to say, no to one opportunity and then to say yes to another one. And I think it's so important to have that time to really say, I'm going to apply this knowledge right now. I don't know about you, but when I was full-time, I had been to so many leadership conferences that were amazing. And I learned so much, but they were 14 hours a day. And then I would jump on a plane and the next morning I would be rounding again. And I remember pulling a book, one of those folders off of my shelf like 2 years after one of those leadership conferences and looking at it and flipping through it and thinking, oh my gosh, I took so many notes. This is all really great information. I didn't do anything with it because I had to go straight back to work. I didn't have any time to apply it. So we really make sure with the Women Physicians Wellness Conference that you have time to really reflect on how you're going to apply the new knowledge and strategies and to actually apply them. You can take moments in those days that you're there to really kind of apply that knowledge and make a plan for how you're going to kind of continue in your career and climb in your career.
And I think that's been one of like my favorite things about the conferences that I've attended is like you're there and they're making sure that you're taking actionable steps while you're there. And so when you go back, you've already put those things into play.
I think that's so crucial.
I specifically attend conferences that don't last all day. I'm looking for a vacation destination. I'm here. Yeah, I'm here to get the education. I'm here to learn things. I'm here to see all these people, but I'm also here to like get a vacation. And so I think that's important to point out that you're not going to be in a lecture all day. You're not going to be sitting, staring at death by PowerPoint 12 hours a day. You're on vacation. And I think, like you mentioned before, as physicians, we take our work home with us. We take our work on vacation with us. And so I think it's kind of a catch-22 when you say, okay, well, I'm going on the CME trip and CME, is supposed to be education. I'm supposed to be learning things, but I'm also going to be on a vacation. But I love that the best ones really tie those things together So that way you can go, you spend the morning, learning something new and things that are going to really help change your life. But you also get some downtime to spend with your family, or like I always take my kids with me. I guess not always. We've done a couple where it was just me and my husband go on his CME, using his CME funds and his CME time. But we've also done trips where we've taken the kids. And so it's just nice to have that downtime so that way you can interact with the people that you came with.
I think we just have to recognize everybody's in a different season of life. And some people, they need to travel with their children or they really want to. And, they want that experience for them as well. I took my family this year to Grand Cayman. And then others really want the time away where they can just focus on their self-care and really just learning and that community with other women. Whatever that is, we try to make sure that we have options for all of that and that we're catering to all women of every season of life and whatever their needs are, bringing family, coming alone, coming with girls trip, all of that.
Yeah, I also like to leave them at home, and it also gives me an excuse. Like, hey, I'm going for work, so no, you have to stay home this time. But it's nice when you pick destinations where you can go, like you said, and take a week before the trip and spend some days with your family or, afterwards.
Exactly, because those are important memories to have too, We definitely want those times to ourselves. I'm right there with you. But it can also be really important to have that family time. I will tell you, like, one of my fondest memories is being in Grand Cayman a couple years ago, and my 3 kids and my husband and I all kind of walked out to the ocean, and we were just standing in a circle, just chit-chatting and like talking about fun times that we had had both there, but previous vacations too, and joking with each other. I was just thinking, like, this is what it's about, is these moments. I want to give those to other women too. And I invite them to come in whatever way makes them the most comfortable and makes them the most fulfilled at the end of it.
And I know you mentioned having CME credit that's available for physicians and other professions as well. So are all the conferences open to all comers, or how does that work?
No. So we only have one that is open to all comers. So that's our Women Professionals Wellness in the Bahamas each January. Our other 3 are exclusively for women physicians. Those are Grand Cayman, Aruba, and Amelia Island. And the differences between them, in addition to location, of course, is Grand Cayman is focused on career and leadership development. So women who want to climb to the next level in their careers in medicine. Then we have Aruba, which is focused on burnout, resilience, pivoting in your career and in your life. So that's a little bit of a different feel and maybe a little less professional development and more personal development focused. And then what we do is each year we take the top rated speakers from those 2 conferences and we invite them to Amelia Island. So for women who can't leave the continental US, they get a little taste of what was presented at the other 2 conferences, but they get it stateside in October. And then Bahamas is one where it's really focused on both professional and personal development together. It's a combination, and we're still kind of feeling out because it's so new. What do those women want? What do they want to hear about? And what do they want to learn about?
And who have been some of the attendees to the Bahamas conference?
All sorts. We had a bunch of social workers this year, obviously MDs, and DOs. We've had nurse practitioners, health administrators. We had a couple health administrators. We had 1 dentist, 1 veterinarian this year, 1 lawyer. Yeah, it's really been kind of a fun conference to put on and explore. It's definitely new for me having non-physicians there, but it's really neat to see the connections that are still being made and the realization that women professionals of all kinds, we struggle with a lot of the same things. There are definitely certain issues that are very specific to women physicians, but there are a lot of issues that we all deal with. Imposter syndrome, learning boundaries, figuring out how to say no in a way that's graceful and doesn't burn bridges, how to self-promote. All of these apply to really any woman who is working today.
I totally agree. And I think that a lot of the conferences are targeted towards women physicians, or at least the ones that, CME courses. So I love that you've opened up opportunities for other people who are also going through the same challenges, and you can all be in the same room and realize that you share some of the same struggles and some of the same wins. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's funny, especially right after COVID, when we did virtual for a year and then we went back to live conferences, women were really taking the opportunity in that following year to bring their women friends with them who were non-physicians and just have a chance to have a girls' trip and get together. And I had so many women physicians pull me aside at the registration and say, I know that this is just for physicians, but my girlfriend is in the hotel room right now and she is really struggling. Would you ever consider a conference for her. I was really surprised. And I thought, well, okay, if there's a need, if there's a desire for that, then yeah, we can do that for sure. And it's really blown me away how much interest there is and excitement for the conference and for women physicians to be able to connect with their non-physician friends. So we see a lot of times a large group of a practice of nurse practitioners, PAs, health administrators coming with a woman physician who's been to one of the other conferences, or women bringing friends from college, friends from the neighborhood, where their kids all go to school together and saying, we need to get together and do something for us. That's really fun to see.
So you get a lot of repeat customers?
Yes, we do. Probably 40% each year are repeat customers. It might be higher than 40%, actually. We might be 50 or 60%. So we have a lot of people that return year after year.
So how do I sign up?
womenphysicianswellness.com, and that will lead you to any of our pages for any of our conferences.
So you're planning these conferences and you're balancing life at home, managing kids and all those things, and you're traveling outside of the conference as well, I hear?
I am when I can, kind of jet setting around a little bit. In fact, my husband and my son are actually going in 2 days to Italy without me. It's very strange. I'm like, "I'm not going? I don't understand. I'm usually the one who's always jumping on the plane." So that feels a little bit. How did that happen? I took my daughter to Paris when she turned 14 as like a kind of coming of age trip with her, just the two of us. And so my son is about to turn 14. So now he gets his big trip with his dad.
Very cool. I've been toying with the idea of taking my kids on individual trips. And even just a couple days ago, I booked a trip to London and I was like, oh, well. And then I looked and I was like, there's another seat available. And my daughter, she's 7. She loves to like travel. My son, he's like his dad. He likes to vacation. So I was like, well, maybe I can just take her. And then I'm meeting my sister there. She'll already be in Spain. And then I was talking to my son and he's like, well, I might want to go too. So then it becomes, well, do I take both of them? And it's just so hard to like decide, but I would love to be able to like take like separate trips. I'm going to take one child and you take the other and, we can probably manage it.
I will say that's been the biggest challenge for us too, is if we take one, a lot of times it's like a mother-daughter trip or a father-son trip. And then the other parent really wants to go. And so it's like, well, then where are we going together? Because I still want to go to Italy with you. My husband still wants to go to France with me.
So you just have to go back, right?
Exactly. The more trips. Oh, no.
And you travel with points?
Oh, yes. I love to travel with points. We were joking before we started the recording. For the first time in many years, I actually exhausted my points with the Italy trip and a number of others that we've recently been on. And I realized as I was booking my next trip, oh, I guess I have to pay for it with money? How does that work?
That hurts. It hurts. You cut you to the core.
But as you reminded me, that was just an opportunity for me to get more points.
It's a points earning opportunity. Just make sure you're using the right card. What's your favorite points earning card to use?
Ooh, well, I have the Amex Platinum, which is probably my favorite just because I can transfer those points to so many different either hotels or airlines. And then it's really easy points to transfer for international travel. So that's probably my favorite. And then I have Chase Sapphire, and then I have all the others too. They all have their purpose.
They all have their purpose, yeah. I think once you start getting into the points game and getting cards, you realize that, yeah, you can't just have one card. I always recommend just starting with one and just kind of going from there. But like, yeah, then you realize, oh, well, I need this card for this, or I'm traveling internationally and they don't really take Amex at a lot of places, but Amex gives really good bonuses and they have really good lounges. So
the Centurion Lounge is probably the reason that the Amex Platinum is my favorite, because there's nothing like a 4-hour layover in a Centurion Lounge. It just makes it so much better.
And once you've gone, then you're like, oh, now I have to go back to like not being in the lounge, while I'm sitting here.
That's the worst. What do you mean there's no lounge?
Well, it's like my husband, we took our business class flight to Singapore recently and went to the Maldives. And so I'm looking at going to Japan for next year and he's going, well, I'm like, well, what if I can't find any business class flights? And he's like, well, essentially we're not going. It's like, I'm not sitting on a flight for 16 hours. I'm like, you've lived the last like 40 years of your life flying in economy. And now all of a sudden.
That is why you no longer need to fly economy, because you've already done it. You did that for 40 years. That's what I say. I'm like, I've grown out of economy. Well, it's funny because I was booking Italy on points, of course, for my husband and my son. And I was realizing that if they wanted to go in June, which is his birthday, it's obviously a very popular month to go to Italy. And I said, well, you can go in June, but you're going to have to fly economy. Or you can go for spring break and you can fly business class. And it was a unanimous go in March. Once you taste business class, especially on an international, like overnight flight, no, there's no going back from that.
Awesome. So you're planning all these trips and you're finding time to do all these things. How do you balance it all then?
I mean, there are definitely times, there are seasons where it's really challenging because I'm gone for, relatively extended periods of time when my kids are in school and I'm not really available to them. I tell them when I'm at a women physicians wellness conference and I'm hosting, I really can't be available. Like you got to reach out to dad and figure things out on your own. And it does help that they're a little bit older now for sure, but it has its challenges. And I still do quite a bit of speaking. So I'm flying around the country doing that as well. But it's an opportunity for them to learn to be more independent. And thankfully, almost everything that I do with my business now, I can do remotely. So as long as I have my laptop, I can be sitting in that airport lounge, enjoying a nice glass of champagne and answering emails there.
Yeah, because I think it's different on day to day. If you're going to work and you come home and you kind of have a solid routine versus like you're traveling all the time and then you're still trying to manage a household with school age kids and, get from one conference to the next. And I see your name pop up all the time at like these different speaking engagements and, so it's a lot to balance, I imagine, but probably a good thing to try to balance.
It is. I think I have the best job in the world. It's so much fun. I absolutely love what I do 1000%. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do it every day. So, and I just recognize when I'm gone and I come back, you can't expect everything to be the way you would do it. You just accept that it was done the way it needed to be for that time. And so it was done. 80% is sometimes good is better than perfect. So
And so where's your next upcoming conference?
our next conference is in Aruba in May. So May 1st to the 3rd this year in Aruba at the Marriott. It's going to be amazing.
All right, so you guys make sure that you get signed up for Aruba in May. We got married in Aruba, so Aruba has a special place in my heart.
What a beautiful place to get married.
Yeah, we loved it. And, my husband, he's from Trinidad and I'm from Las Vegas. And I'm like, we're not having a wedding in Las Vegas. And we need to find someone like, somewhat central. So Aruba,
That is so perfect.
great choice.
Yes, it was.
A great choice for a conference too. So if you don't know exactly what you want to do and you know that May's coming and you've got some CME money that's sitting there and it's burning a hole in your pocket, then you should definitely sign up and make it to Aruba.
Absolutely.
And they can sign up on your website you mentioned.
Yep, absolutely. Womenphysicianswellness.com. And that'll take you to a homepage and you can choose which conference you'd like to sign up for from there. And it'll take you to each of those pages. And that includes the Women Professionals Wellness Conference as well. But there is a separate website for that if you're interested in that also. And that's womenprofessionalswellness.com.
Perfect. And so I'll make sure I put all that information in the show notes. That way you guys can access that and get your next trip booked. And you're staying at the Marriott there. So you can certainly use your Marriott points. But the great things about conferences is that they negotiate great conference rates. And I think that's a great use of your CME dollars to book your hotel there and potentially rack up some Marriott points as well as some points on your card and be able to use that for future trips. Have your employer reimburse you for.
Absolutely.
And if you're traveling and you have points, then you use your points to fly yourself to the conference. Or if your work is going to reimburse that, then you make sure you're paying cash and using the right cards so that way you can rack up some points for the next trip. So we're all about strategy around here.
Absolutely. Smart woman. I love it.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being here to talk with us today. Again, I think all these opportunities are readily available, but people don't know about them. And so I appreciate you being here to just kind of shed some light on what they can expect when they get there and, all these amazing locations that they can get to. And now they know where to find you, which is the most important part, right?
Yep. Well, thank you so much also for creating this space. You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's just getting the word out and introducing people to what's out there. And I'm so grateful that you invited me.
Well, thanks again. And thank you all for listening. Again, make sure that you're following along on Instagram, Prescription to Travel MD. If you're a physician, a dentist, pharmacist, a doctor, you can sign up to be in the Facebook group, Prescription to Travel MD, the Doctor's Lounge. And for all comers, non-healthcare professionals who just want to learn more about travel, we also have a Facebook group now for Prescription to Travel MD that you can join and learn all the tips and tricks to get you to your next destination. We'll see you again next time.